What's happening, Aurora traders and investors? It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, and interviews. Today's Tuesday. It's March 28th. Hope you're doing awesome out there today. And in this video, I'm going to be discussing the stock Aurora. Going to be going over another warning that it received with regards to the Nasdaq and the minimum bid price rule. They've got another warning about their low stock price. Before we get to it, though, make sure to smash the like, help support me, and the channel doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell. You'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. And before we jump into today's content, obviously feeling under the weather. If you haven't noticed from my voice, had a pretty bad cold over the last few days, so still battling through it. So bear with me as we go through the video. That's why I haven't been getting as many videos out as well over the last couple of days, and may not kick it back into high gear for another couple of days yet. Still feeling pretty under the weather, but did want to come on here. This is something I've been preaching about for a while now. It's not just a one company or a two company problem in the MJ space. It's an MJ space problem, right? And MJ Biz Daily reported, this is dated March 27th, Aurora MJ warned by Nasdaq about low stock price. So obviously fell under $1 for 30 days in a row. And the Alberta-based MJ producer has until September 20th, which is 180 calendar days from the date of the notification letter, to regain compliance. And all it has to do is just trade above $1 for a minimum of 10 consecutive business days during the 180-day period. And then it will regain compliance, and they should receive a notice from the Nasdaq. But this does open speculation that they could potentially do another reverse split. And they just did a reverse split. If you take a look here, back on May 11th, 2020, they did a 1-for-12 reverse split. So not a good look right now for the stock. So in a news release, Aurora said it intends to monitor the bid price for its shares and will consider all available options to resolve the deficiency with every intention to regain compliance with the minimum bid price requirement. So again, exercising a reverse split, that would be a potential option. And then obviously just getting the share price back above $1 organically. So we'll see what comes of that. Aurora joined the Nasdaq after leaving the New York Stock Exchange in May of 2021, and shares trade on ACB as ACB. A number of MJ companies, this is what I've been saying for a while now. It's not, I see tons of social media, I see tons of groups saying, why is it this stock? How come this stock's so garbage? It's not just one stock, it's multiple. We know SNDL did it as well. Multiple names have done reverse splits, and it goes on to talk about that here in this article. Earlier this year, New Brunswick-based Organigram Holdings also received a warning over its share price. They have until July 24th to bring its share price back into compliance, which is also at risk of a reverse split. And it may receive a 180-day extension before it faces possible delisting. So that's a possibility as well. In January, Hexacorp regained compliance with the Nasdaq's minimum bid price requirement, having done a 14-to-1 reverse split. So again, this is just signs of the times that it's not just one or two companies, it's a whole MJ space problem. And until we have changes, there's talks about the Canadian government talking about catching up to the MJ space, and it's time they support the industry. And it's been a while, obviously, since they, 4 years. It's been a while since they've done any major changes. So we could see changes to licensing, packaging, all these different areas that we know need to change, maybe even taxation, right, which we know is a big one that in some cases is eating more than 30% of companies' revenue and bottom line. So we know that Hexo did that 14-to-1, and we could potentially see Aurora again. But again, it's not just one company. It doesn't matter if you're profitable, unprofitable. There was a recent article here from February 9th saying Aurora posted positive adjusted EBITDA on MJ sales growth. Also, Organigram had a positive adjusted EBITDA of $5.6 million for the fourth consecutive quarter of positive adjusted EBITDA. So again, it's not just one company. It doesn't matter if it's positive adjusted EBITDA, negative EBITDA. It doesn't matter if they're profitable, unprofitable. We're seeing this across the space, right? And it's probably just a matter of time before it happens to the U.S. names. Once they can uplist to the Nasdaq and the NYSE, we could see the same problems there. But again, if they were to uplist, right, the MSOs, the American producers, and the American companies in the U.S., with regards to MJ, then stock prices would obviously soar based on that news, right, of the uplisting news. So, but not to say that they couldn't be in for that same issue down the road, right? But as we know, Germany will be a potential success story as well. Europe's biggest economy moves closer to MJ legalization. We know that they got positive feedback from the EU, and that could just potentially, be a domino effect to the rest of the EU following suit. And then usually, what do we know about the US? They're not first, but they're never last either. And we could potentially see them as a big player, right? And then we have Mexico, which is a very underrated market. And then you have the NAFTA, right? The North American Free Trade Agreement. So who are a part of that? That would be Canada, Mexico, and the United States. So again, I don't think the United States is far behind. And then we should see Germany, the rest of the EU, right, UK as well. And then we probably expect the US not too long after that. But if we take a look at the ACB chart, again, they did do a 1-for-12 reverse split back on May 11th, 2020. So again, it wouldn't be a very good look for the stock if we did see another reverse split, but we can't rule that out of the realm of possibility. But if we take a look at the chart here at the moment, it is a monthly bear flag. So we have the high to the low. Anything under 390 on that monthly bounce here was just a potential monthly bear flag and a monthly downtrend. And then once we lost that support there at 121, after starting the monthly bounce, that's when we confirmed the monthly lower low and the monthly bear flag. And the monthly bear flag is targeting 50 cents USD there on the Nasdaq. So we could still see from current levels, we could still see basically quite a bit more of downside. So we'd be looking at double digits. You're looking at about 25% of downside from current levels, just based on that monthly bear flag target. And as we know, High Tide, they did a split as well, a 1-for-15 back on May 13th, 2021. And that was whenever they were looking to uplist to the Nasdaq. And here they are confirming a weekly bear flag, which I mentioned many months ago, that it was targeting $1. And we finally met that. We hit 103. But now it's a monthly bear flag, just like Aurora. And right now, High Tide is confirming that monthly bear flag with a loss of 130 support, and it does have a target of 70 cents as well. So we could see more downside for High Tide, and again, not looking good. The whole MJ space is just still in a brutal bear market, and until we have something change, whether it be Canadian legalization changes or regulatory changes with regards to taxation, licensing, packaging, all that stuff, that's going to be huge. But we'll also be keeping a close eye on Germany. We'll be keeping a close eye on the U.S. and the rest of the world, right? But High Tide could be next for a reverse split as well. And keep in mind, they haven't lost $1 yet, and they would need to trade below $1 for 30 days, just like Aurora did, right, in their warning. But again, this is even companies that are, posting higher revenue quarter over quarter. They're showing great EBITDA, it doesn't matter, right? All these companies are experiencing the same problem because people are finally starting to realize that all MJ moves together. It doesn't matter if it's US producers, American producers, retailers, ETFs, everything is down 80 to 90% from the highs of February 2021. And that is because the sector is still nascent, it's still early, it's a new emerging, burgeoning industry. And until we have the adoption and critical mass, these companies are just going to follow each other. Not down to the second, the day, the minute, but generally on a weekly or monthly or a yearly basis, we should see the charts fairly similar, right? And again, this is just signs of the times. And right now, ACB is well below the 10-week moving average. We're seeing a bull cross of the stochastic, which is a little glimmer of hope, but seeing a bear cross here potentially of the MACD. So we're 2 out of 3 bearish on the weekly macros. And in terms of the weekly moving averages, we have nothing nearby until 138. But I do think that 50 psychological, so 50 cents psychological, lines up with that monthly bear flag as well. Could be a nice bottom there if you're looking to bottom fish ACB or wondering where we could potentially expect a bottom. But in terms of the daily time frame, we are gearing up for a potential golden cross over the next few months. But we're still a ways away. The 50-day moving average sitting there at 88 cents and the 200 there at 120. We would need to see those lines cross in order to get that golden cross. But like I said, right at the moment, not looking good. It's probably going to be at least a couple months before we see that. But you can see here, last time we had a golden cross, price went from about $10 all the way up to nearly $20 on ACB. Then we had the death cross, and price went from about $8 all the way down to 60 cents, right? So we're looking at a potential golden cross and a massive momentum shift here. But again, that's likely going to be a couple of months at least. I would say at least a few months before we see that happen. But going to end it there, let me know what you think of this news. Do you think Aurora is going to be due for another reverse split, or do you think they're going to be able to organically get that back above $1? Obviously, Germany is going to be a pivotal point in the stock, right, and the momentum shift. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's going to be one of the most important things going forward, and also whether or not the Canadian government does relax any taxation regulations, things like that, packaging, licensing. We'll keep an eye on that. But I will keep you posted. Before we go, make sure to smash the like. I would appreciate it if you think I earned it today. Share the video with anybody that might find value. Going to end it there. It's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll see you in the next video.